You're dealing with gasoline in this situation with the fuel filter. So, two things. Number one, I didn't, but I would recommend highly having a fire extinguisher near just in case. Obviously, don't smoke or anything like that to ignite gas. Just wanting to make sure, wanting to have a clear conscience here with this video. The other thing is you want to start with a cool engine, mainly for the same reason. You're dealing with fuel and gasoline. I don't know if you could do it with a warm engine or hot engine, but I didn't want to find out. So that's the one reason for just starting with a cold engine, doing it in the morning before you move your car or whatever. The other reason is just comfort. You've got to get in, your arms are up next to the parts of the machine. I mean, this is not a, take off a panel and pop it out kind of thing. It can be involved a bit, but it doesn't, I mean, after you watch the video, hopefully you'll have a lot easier time with it than I did. Let's put it that way. I suffered the learning curve. Hopefully you can benefit from my suffering. Just doing a quick, I guess, summary of what it takes to change out a engine compartment fuel filter. I think there's a couple fuel filters in the fuel tank. Well, a fuel filter and a strainer in the fuel tank. That is not what this video is about. The video is about the fuel filter in the engine compartment. That's it. This is the chain of events, the order in which I recommend you do it. Number one, watch all the YouTube videos you can. Number two, watch my entire video, although it is a bit disjointed. It has got random notes from roughly 7 hours of me fumbling around learning how to do it. So you can benefit from my time. Plus, I'll have it to refer back to when I change my fuel filter next time. Anyways, this is what like I said, watch all the YouTube videos. Go buy yourself a set of the wrenches at Harbor Freight that I show you in this video. And any other tools you might need. Those wrenches are stubbies, by the way. Make sure it's not just wrenches. There's special wrenches in the video. And make sure they're stubbies. Because they're absolutely necessary to do it. So then you go get the tools, you go get your filter. You can get an aftermarket or a Toyota. I got an aftermarket. Then this is how it works. First, you put your car up on a jack. You'll see. Second, you disconnect the fuel pump after you take out the back seat. That'll be summarized. Taking out the back seat and open the fuel pump door. Disconnect the fuel pump. Start the car. Let the fuel run out. Open the gas cap and leave it off. Take the neutral connection off the battery. And FYI, letting the fuel run out on my car only took like 2 seconds. It depends on if you read online. It seems like it might take a while, but it didn't even hardly start. So then, like I said, you have it up on jacks. You should loosen the lug nuts before you put it up on the a jack on the driver's side wheel. Then after you have it up, take the wheel off, and then there's a panel that you take out. And then when you are taking out the fuel filter, you're going to be a combination of underneath the car, beside the car, and on top of the car. You also need to take the a part of the air intake that I show you. So after you take that panel off inside the wheel well, you can loosen. You hit the bottom flare nut with some PB blaster is what I did. Actually, you should do that as quickly as you get it up on a jack and you can get to it, so it can be soaking in it. And then use a backup wrench, which is a 19 millimeter on the filter side, so you don't torque any of the metal lines and break them. And then you use a 14 millimeter, and I'm talking about those stubby wrenches, okay, that you're going to see later in the video, on the hard pressurized fuel line to loosen it. Then, after it's loosened, then loosen the mounting brackets that mount the whole entire assembly to the wall of the car. That's difficult to get to, but it's doable. I did it. After you get those off, I would finagle the filter out to the top of the car if I could. Do it over again. This is the way I would do it. Get it up to the top of the car before you take any other, take that bottom flare nut off and take the mounting bolts off, and then get it up to the top of the engine as much as you can, with making sure you don't disconnect it from the actual engine itself, because that could be hell trying to find that where that hose goes back into. When you get it on top, then take the top clip off, and you'll see it in the video what I'm talking about. And then you take the inner sort of mechanism and pinch it together, and it pops out. And then you take, and that thing that you pinch together, you got to salvage it off your old filter and put it on the new one, if it's like my filter was. And maybe if you get an OEM, it comes with it, I'm not sure. But anyways, it's a flexible piece. Then, like I said, you take that flexible piece and you put it off, put it on the nipple, same nipple on your new part. Take your old part and put it to the side, take it out of the mounting brackets and whatnot. Put the new filter in the mounting bracket, and basically just do everything in reverse. Then after you have it on, when I put mine on at first, I didn't put it on tight enough and had a fuel leak. So I had to go through the whole, depressurizing lines again, but it worked out the second time. So anyways, after you put it on, I think the procedure is, if I remember correctly, after everything's tightened down, you go back, you connect the fuel filter, you close the, or sorry, not the fuel filter, you connect the fuel pump, electric pump, and then you, what else? Seal up the gas tank, and then you turn on your ignition, but I didn't start the car. I just turned it to ignition, I think was the setting, the one right before you start it. And then count to 5,000, and then I turned it off, and I did that 3 or 4 times, same exact way. Turned it off, took the key out after each time, and then I think the 4th or 5th time I started it, and it sputtered a little bit, but it started right up. Oh, yeah, before you do that, you have to reconnect the battery also, before you try to start it. And that would be between when you put the gas cap on and when you turn the ignition to, for the 5 seconds period. After that, basically everything is in reverse. But I would watch every minute of this video for details and stuff in reference to the 2001, because it literally took me 7 hours, and if I had these notes to refer to, I bet you I could have done it in possibly 2 or 3. Getting it all back together is a lot easier than taking it apart once you understand how all the clips and everything work. The clips are always the thing that takes me forever to figure out. So I'm an amateur, by the way, so just make sure you know that. You cannot do this job, in my opinion, as an amateur without these two. Notice the special end on those. They're better than a wrench in this scenario, and they allow you to go around a metal pipe or whatever kind of pipe, but they get a good grip. You need a 19 millimeter, and this goes on the filter side. This is a backup wrench. You need to, in other words, don't put any torque on the filter side of the metal line. You hold it so it doesn't push torque onto the filter with this wrench. And then this wrench, you back off the metal line, and that's the 14 millimeter. You can get them at Harbor Freight, relatively cheap for a whole set of short ones. That's it, thanks. This is for a 2001 Toyota Avalon fuel filter replacement. After roughly probably 5 hours to get this thing out, making notes for your benefit and for mine. In the factory manual, it says you can do everything from the bottom, but it also says you need a special service tool. I can confirm that on a 2001 Toyota Avalon. Now, the workaround is this. Number one, jack it up like so, real high. Take off a panel right here. Take this panel off, and the fuel filter, which is not installed yet, I'll put a picture at the end probably, lives up there. But that is the best way to access it from the bottom. Now, I will say in the beginning of your project, spray some PB Blast on the bottom flare bolt. That being said, this is the old filter, and I may insert a picture at the end also of what the old filter gas looks like, which is awful. This is off 238,000 miles. Anyway, I spent the majority of time figuring out clips without breaking them. So I'll say this: after you get that flare bolt off the bottom here, after you, not this bolt, the one that's tied to a hard line, you take that off. Then, and it's difficult, these two are 10 millimeters and they're bolted to the body. Take them off. Take this off to give you access, and I also unscrewed what was it? That bolt that I'm zooming in on down there. I also unscrewed that to get some upper access to the whole thing. You'll know what I mean when you open your hood. So anyways, you're gonna have to, unless you're Houdini, you're gonna have to take that off so you can move it up around. Then, after you get this flare bolt off of here, undo these two bolts from the side of the body, and they're going to be difficult to get to, very difficult. Going to need some extensions. They're 10 millimeters each. You don't necessarily, I mean, if you can, you know, there's the tightener for this filter, but I felt better taking off the whole assembly. I don't know why, but anyways, then snake the assembly up through here before you take anything off of this. This should have a clip right here, but I left it off for this video. Okay, so I went through the hassle of taking it off while I was in place, but snake the filter all the way up to the top, or as far as you can get up to the top before attacking these. I think the way this clip comes apart is it's got to have pressure at the bottom. I ended up doing it with a screwdriver on I think both sides. Anyways, one side at least, but I used a real long screwdriver and did it where it sits and lives down on the filter. But if you had it up here, I'd say you could do it a lot easier. Anyways, after I took that off, then I figured out I could move the filter up here because I was having a hard time taking this off. The way you get this off, this is supposedly a speed fitting from Toyota, but of course, you know, speed is if you know how to take it off. Here's one side of the clip under my thumb. On the other side of the tube, there's a exact duplicate of this. You push them in both at the same time, and this just slides out. No screwing, no anything. Sorry. Again, you just push these in. It may not be easy, but you push them in, and once you get them both in, you sort of wiggle it out. And you're going to have a little fuel going places. But anyways, I'm installing it back in right now, and I thought I'd make my notes. Put as much on this thing up here as you can. I'm gonna put this clip on up here, and then I'm gonna snake it back through because it ain't easy to snake back through. I would just say try to be very careful that you don't accidentally pull this hose out from wherever it goes in the engine, because it'd probably be a nightmare to put back in. And I think that's it. You can find other videos. Maybe I'll make some notes at the end as far as what I did prior to this. I'll snip it and put it at the beginning. Before I did any of this, what I did was okay, so this is for the beginning of the video. You got to do that, which requires no big deal really, but these two snaps on the back seat, all you do is pull up, and the seat will come up. then this will be on there, upside down, sealed, pretty darn tight, with black sealant. You get a big screwdriver on there, be very gentle, just pry up around it. Try not to bend this lid as much as possible. Get it up. And then this clip, the other videos that I watched didn't explain it. It goes in. This part goes in, not out. So my, you know, it was too difficult for me to do with my thumb. So I think I either did it with a, I think I was very gentle with the channel locks and or a small screwdriver. You don't want to break it. I mean, if you broke it, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but you don't want to break it. Again, this goes in, not out, goes, push it in. That was a big, that took forever to figure out. The connectors are always what gets me. Anyways, so you do that, you unhook that. To my knowledge, there's no other way to safely do it in the Avalon. Then you start the car until it stops. Mine stopped immediately, which tells me that the fuel filter, I'm thinking tells me that the fuel filter is totally jammed. Then I cranked it a couple more times just to make sure. I mean, it almost didn't run at all. Then I came back and undid the fuel cap to relieve any pressure there. Then I went up here and undid the negative to the battery. And also, before I took anything apart, I had a spill pan underneath, which really didn't catch much. There wasn't much fuel that came out, which tells me possibly the filter and thing, God forbid, in the tank is dirty and clogged. But who knows? I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I'm just an amateur, just an FYI. So that's my notes thus far. You can tell everything I've tried on this thing, but those are just sort of extraneous tools. What you need to get this off pretty much is a screwdriver, and I think I maybe used these to grab it when it was in place because they were so long to pull it up and out. But if you're able to get this filter up, then you won't have to do any of that. So that's what I suggest. Good luck. Okay, so here's another note that I'm not sure if I put in the video or not. That white clip right there is in the video, but I don't think I told you. You have to, be gentle with that white clip. Please don't break it, because if you buy an aftermarket part, at least, I don't know about an OEM, mine's an aftermarket, you've got to reuse that clip. That white clip there that's on the top of the filter. The way I got it off was with jeweler screwdrivers, and thank God it's somewhat flexible. Be very gentle, don't force anything getting it off the old part. For God's sakes, don't take the old part and just throw it out. And make sure you compare the two before you put the old one in, the new one in, to replace the old one. Alright, so this is the clip on the filter, and I did it on top of the engine. But as you remember, I think I said earlier in this video, I bought an aftermarket filter. I'm not sure if that's the reason why I had a difficult time getting the clip to line up to this, but it's important. I think the clip holds this connection together, so it's important that that right there clicks in and matches perfectly with the hole. Mine was giving me a hard time. I'm not even sure really if it's fully there yet, but so I gently, keyword at your own risk, gently put one jaw of this channel lock on this side and one jaw on the other, the bottom, not straight up and down, not like that. I don't know why, but that's how I chose to do it. To get this to fit together. So do that at your own risk. Gentle. Has to fit the same way on the other side. I think the other side's and especially I think on the engine side, because I think that's where the pressure is. This is the engine side, because I think that's where it's important that the pressure is. So that's it. Here's a shot of the other side of my clip. If you'll notice where my finger is, right over there, that clip down there is much better towards the engine than it is on this side. The reason for that is that's basically how I found this clip. I don't know if over time, see how it's jarred up. So that's what's telling me that the engine side, I think, is more important to have tight. I guess if I really wanted to do it, I could tape this thing, but since I found it that way, it's harder for me to... Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Maybe you want to tape it. So that's it.